So in this video, I'm focusing primarily on the power paddles, or paddles that are sort of lean power that are currently on the market and are on USAP's approved list. Basically ones that are not the Joola Gen 3. The Gen 3 Joolas are known for their power and unique feel that sort of plays plush. I just want to first say that none of these paddles I list here quite play like the Joola Gen 3, but quite honestly, not much else plays like them out there. I do think some of the paddles on this list here are worth considering, and the one thing you should definitely consider is hitting that like button and subbing to the channel. Let's get into it. Okay, first paddle on the list is more or less on the list not because of the power it has, but more or less the feel of the ball coming off the paddle face. The BnB Shogun is definitely a power paddle that leans all court and has a springy-like quality that kind of reminds me of the trampoline effect you find in some of the elongated Gen 3 Joola paddles. To kind of sum it up, picture the BnB filth binge watching anime, jetting off to Japan for a year to live the otaku dream, then coming back to create the most epic sushi or ramen place in the neighborhood while still retaining its original personality, just with a little bit more culture now. That's the vibe we're channeling with the BnB Shogun. I know this aesthetic is probably not for everyone, but don't let the quirky looks fool you. This thing can perform with the best of them. If you are looking for something that is fun, familiar with a unique feel and look, this is a solid choice. Okay, next up on the list at number 8, we got the new Bantam TKO-C from Paddletek. These also come in a longer handle variant known as the TKO-CX if you fancy a two-handed backhand. This paddle is also endorsed by Christian Alshon and has made somewhat of a splash on release, and I've seen it gain some popularity. Paddletek was basically thrown into the Lazarus pit and has been revived from the brink of death. I'm not even kidding when I say the only thing more rare than seeing a Paddletek at your local courts was seeing a Franklin STK. Damn! But Paddletek has done a complete 180, and honestly, good for them, because the new Bantam and raw carbon fiber versions of their paddles are all pretty good. The Bantam TKO-C is actually a Gen 1 raw carbon fiber paddle with a bit of pop to it. It has incredible feel to it with really good spin and good shape. The ball doesn't quite jump off the face like the Gen 3 Joolas, but pops off way more than I expected from a Gen 1 regular sandwich press constructed paddle, and it's more in line with the Engage Pursuit Pros. I just feel really connected to the ball when playing with it, and the shape and feel you get with this paddle is probably some of the best out on the market right now. If you are a player who is skeptical of thinner core paddles, I do think that this paddle plays more plush and closer to the feel of a 16mm, more than one might expect. Okay, coming at number 7 and 6, we have some of the latest releases from 6.0, which are the Black Diamond 14mm and the Ruby 14. These paddles are thinner core versions of the Black Diamond and the popular Ruby. If you are fans of those paddles but always wanted some more hand speed and more pop from them, then these might be worth upgrading to. The 14mm Ruby takes the popular Ruby and gives it a thinner core to make it lighter and give it just a bit of extra juice. While it does do that, I think it lacks some of the stability and weight I enjoyed from the original 16mm Ruby. Although I know some players complained that the original Ruby had too high of a swing weight, so maybe this 14mm version might be for you. At number 6, we have the Black Diamond 14mm. Some of you who know me already know I'm a big fan of the Black Diamond, and to be quite honest, I don't think I would switch from the Black Diamond 16mm to the thinner 14mm variant unless I really needed to get that extra pop, or maybe I was playing in warmer temps. I think the Black Diamond already hits hard enough, but if you want a paddle where the ball comes off the paddle face really fast, then the Black Diamond 14mm is one of the popular paddles I've played with in recent memory. So if you wanted a Ruby or a Black Diamond that has been very disciplined with their diets, go for one of these options. But I'm also here to tell you that your paddle is beautiful just the way they are. I think I like you a little more thick. Next up is the Rush 13 from Thrive, an elongated paddle with a more traditional square shape. It sports an elongated handle and is offered in various swing weight choices, which is nice because it can be difficult to find a truly elongated paddle with lower swing weights, but this is one of the better ones out there and can also pack a punch. I have actually been reaching for this paddle a lot more recently, and I actually think it has a lot of traits you need for 4.5 to 5.0 plus play if you can dial in your touch, which I do sometimes struggle with when I play with thinner core paddles. Next up on the list, we got one of my favorite paddles, the Thrive Azul. a Kevlar power paddle in a hybrid shape. Definitely a stiffer, more firm feeling paddle, but it does feel softer the harder you swing at the ball. You want pop and speed at the kitchen line while not sacrificing too much on forgiveness, then I'd go with the Azul. Just like the aforementioned Rush 13, it's also really nice that Thrive offers you the option to select your swing weight when you purchase it directly from them. This just allows for better customization and performance. Okay, before I give you my top 3 picks, here are some honorable mentions for the paddles that have some juice to them. Selkirk's Amped Pro Air is basically a thicker, more forgiving power air that can still slap from the baseline, and it comes in some pretty cool colors. The Valera Forza Mach 1 is an oldie but goodie, lots of pop and great spin. In fact, I think it was in the top of the list for spin category from John Q's list, as well as Chris from the Pickleball Studio, I think from last year. It is quite stiff and the feel isn't my favorite, but it's still a solid performer. Last but not least, in the honorable mentions, we have the Pro Kenix Black Ace. If a sheet of plywood had an awkward high school phase, the Black Ace is what happens after it hits the gym, ditches its braces, and aces life post-college. It's like your uncool, nerdy cousin who suddenly turned into a superhero. Although I'm not a fan of the plywood board-like feel, I know some of you out there like that, so I thought I'd mention it. Coming in at number 3 on the list is the recently released Bantam TKO-C 12.7mm from Paddletek. Technically, this has been released for a while now in the form of Annalie Waters' signature paddle, and that one already slapped. The ALW version had incredible power, pop, spin, and speed in the hand, and was probably one of the more slept on paddles out there on the market. I don't know if it was the standard shape or the shorter handle that people didn't really like, but if you need a longer handle or a larger hitting surface, the Bantam TKO-C now has some variations to fit your needs. It's a bit faster in the hand and plays a bit firmer than its 14mm brother that I previously mentioned on this list, but the spin and the performance are pretty similar. I'd personally though pick the 14.3mm over the skinnier one because, let's be real, we all need a little more forgiveness. Some of my pop-ups and resets are so sinful, not even a month in the confessional could save me. But with the 14.3mm, at least I'll feel a bit less like a lost cause. However, if you like speed, play very aggressive, or like to dance with the devil, then the 12.7mm is probably the better choice for you. I'll see you out on the dance floor. Okay, coming in at number 2, we have one of Engage's latest iterations of their Pursuit line, the Pursuit Pro 160 MX. This is their thicker core variant, but you can find them in different shapes and core thicknesses to cater to your need. I personally think the 6.0 versions, which sport a thicker 16mm core, are better because the feel is just more forgiving and plush than the non-6.0 variant. The original Pursuit Pros were already very good, and the Pursuit Pro 1 builds upon the Pursuit Pros that came before it. The curved face at the top does make a bit of a difference in swing weight and maneuverability, and Engage definitely changed something in the core because the Pro 1 definitely has a more lively and poppy feel, and also swings a little bit faster, at least when compared to the regular Pursuit Pro, which by the way is still a fantastic paddle. However, I just really enjoy the Pursuit Pro 160, and it's probably one of my favorite paddles to play with at the moment. It's probably in my top 5 right now. Okay, the moment you've all been waiting for but probably saw coming. At number 1, we have the Gearbox Pro Power, the power paddle that started it all. Honestly, the Gearbox Pro Power is probably the closest in terms of power levels when compared to the more powerful shapes offered in the Joola Gen 3 lineup, such as the Perseus and the Magnus shapes. The sweet spot on the Gearbox Pro isn't as good as some of the Joola Gen 3s, and maybe the spin potential isn't quite equal either, but I think the Pro Power is better constructed and just feels more solid in the hand. If the pop and power of the Joola Gen 3 is what you are really missing, I think the Gearbox Pro Power is probably your best bet in terms of power performance. The ball just really slingshots off the face after the break-in period. It can still be pretty difficult to control, and quite honestly, not a paddle I would personally choose to play with because I value my resets a bit too much, but I've seen some fairly skilled players pilot the paddle pretty effectively. Okay, that's my list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Codes and links in the description below. Sub to the channel and comment down below your favorite power paddle. Till next time, play better. Peace.